So why is it harder to lose weight every time you start a new diet? Well, it's not just because of aging. That is something that we usually chalk it up to. And while there is some truth to that, that is usually not the cause. What typically is the cause is the impact and the negative effects of the previous diets that you've done. They don't come consequence-free. And that's something that we don't often realize. It's not something that people talk about. So that's what we're going to do. I want to explain to you what happens when a human puts themselves into a caloric deficit and how the body responds, how the body views that deficit. So the way we have evolved as humans back in the caveman days, there was feast and famine. And we went through periods of time where we could feast and we would fatten up, and body fat is stored energy. It would actually protect us when we went through periods of famine. The only problem is that now we don't ever face famine. We are constantly in feast mode. And so that causes us to put on significant amounts of body fat. And it's important to recognize that the body's number one priority is staying alive. It doesn't want to lose weight. It doesn't want to lose mass of any kind, whether it's muscle mass or fat mass. And yeah, it might be healthier for you to carry less body fat, but your body does not want to lose it. So it's important to understand that concept. Your body wants to maintain homeostasis. So the minute you start losing mass by putting yourself in a caloric deficit, whether you're increasing your activity, starting to exercise, or decreasing the amount of food that you're eating, or both, it doesn't matter. Your body views that as a threat to its own survival because it's losing mass. And when it's losing mass, that sends off all sorts of alarms and red flags. And what it does is it adapts. It actually becomes more efficient. And efficiency sounds like a good thing, but in this case, it's not, because we are trying to lose mass. Let's say you're 200 pounds, you want to get down to 150 pounds for simple math. And if you eat 2,000 calories per day, you don't lose weight, you don't gain weight. That's just your maintenance level. So if you're at 2,000 calories per day and your weight stays the same at 200 pounds, and then you lower that to 1,500 calories, you have a 500 calorie deficit. More than likely, if you stay consistent with that, you're going to lose weight. But what happens is your metabolic rate, it starts to come down to match that deficit so that you're no longer in a deficit. And it is important to note that if you're not losing weight, then by definition, you are not in a deficit. So it sure seems like you should be in a deficit if you're eating 1,000 calories, 1,200 calories. But the reason why most of you aren't is because of the damage that happened from the previous diets that you've done. Because when you continually lower calories, metabolic rate follows suit. And before you know it, your metabolism is in the gutter. And the other things that happen are your hormone output tends to decline. Thyroid output, sex hormones, in some cases actually shut off. So like bodybuilders, natural bodybuilders, when they go through contest prep, their natural testosterone levels absolutely plummet. Like they go under 40, which is like non-existent for a man. And it does that because reproduction is not deemed a necessary function when it comes to surviving, when it comes to living. Same thing with women. There's a reason why their menstrual cycle stops when they get into an extremely lean state, or they're dieting for a very long period of time and they get really lean, because reproduction is not a necessary function to survive. And so this may sound really crude, but that's what our body's response is to a deficit. So if you've dieted down and your metabolic rate is like way down here, then achieving a deficit becomes extremely difficult. And when you look at the GLP-1 shots that are out there, they're a great tool, but what happens for so many people is for the previous 10 years, they have blamed hormones or aging or whatever it is. And the thing about the GLP-1 shots is what their primary function is slowing down digestion, and they make you feel fuller longer. And so what happens? People don't eat. And in many cases, especially those that aren't following any type of plan, they eat a severely low amount of calories, like 300 or 400 calories a day is all. And of course, when you're eating that much, you're going to lose weight, but you're also, a lot of that weight is going to be muscle mass. But that's another discussion for another day. When you go through that type of a suppression, your body doesn't immediately recoup. So if you, let's say you did the keto diet a couple years ago and you lost 100 pounds and your metabolic rate got all the way down there because your calories got to like 900 a day, and your body got adapted to that, and then all of a sudden you start eating 2,000 calories a day, there's a big, huge open divide of where your body's adapted to, where your metabolic rate is, and how much you're consuming. So you're going to gain a bunch of weight back, typically all of the weight back that you lost before. If you were to do it incrementally with what is called a reverse diet, then you would just inch up the calories little by little, and the metabolic rate will follow if it's done appropriately. Now, the funny thing about this is that of all the macros, the number one macro that has the best impact on your metabolism and on your hormones is carbs. Not fats, not proteins, carbs. In fact, one of the roles that carbs play is they actually will help boost leptin levels. Now, leptin is a hormone that has a couple different functions. One, it signals to your brain when you're full, but it also plays a big role in fat metabolism. And with leptin, typically when you put yourself in a deficit, in fact, they've done studies on this, that within 24 hours, leptin levels start to decline. And so you need leptin to lose weight, but it starts to decline when you put yourself in a deficit. It seems like an impossible task. It's not, because the decline is not as dramatic as the deficit, and so you can get past it. But if you just constantly put yourself into a deficit and you've been on an extreme diet for a long period of time, yes, your metabolic rate's down, but so is leptin, which is an important hormone. Thyroid output is likely down, testosterone, progesterone, estradiol, all these things are low, which makes it very, very difficult for you to lose weight because you cannot achieve a deficit. So what do we do? Well, if somebody were to come to me in this type of scenario where they're like, hey, I'm stuck, I can't lose any more weight, I've been eating 1,000 calories for the past 6 months, I lost 30 pounds initially, and I haven't been able to lose any since then because their body adapted, right? So our body is, like I said at the very beginning, we are very, very good at adapting to any type of condition, anything that we experience consistently. So if we're eating 1,000 calories for a long period of time, pretty soon that's just going to become the norm. We're not even getting hungry for it anymore. That's just what we're adapted to. And we can't lose weight. We don't gain weight. We just stay the same. So what I would do in that situation is we do our best job to establish what their actual baseline is. So if it is 1,000 calories, then we have to start at 1,000 calories. And their metabolic rate's at 1,000. We're eating 1,000. We'll maybe go up to like 1,100, 1,150. And then we'll do this very incrementally. And typically as you bring the calories up, the metabolic rate will follow. If you do this too quickly, you're going to get a bunch of weight. Like what happens to most people when they end their diets, they start eating a ton of weight and they gain it all back. Can be done strategically, but most people are not in a great position to lose weight because of the dieting history that they have. Like it has everything to do with how somebody will respond to a new diet. And if you're sitting there scratching your head, like, I don't understand why this doesn't work. The last time I did it, it worked. Oh, I guess it's just because I'm older. No, that's not it. It's because of that diet before that you did, or any other diets that you've done in between that have caused a severe metabolic adaptation. So is this an inevitable fate whenever you put yourself on a diet? No, it's not. It's just that most diets out there don't ever account for this. Like I call the reverse diet the escape plan. It's like how you get out of the situation that you've gotten yourself into with that adaptation of eating such a low amount of calories. Like your body gets adapted to that, and it's like, if I eat more, I'm going to gain weight, which is true. So you have to do this strategically, but in the dieting process itself, there are multiple strategies that you can employ to make sure that your metabolism doesn't tank in the process and that your hormones don't completely flatline in the process. So one of them is carb cycling. Carb cycling is where you would increase your carb intake, which would also increase your calories, anywhere from 1 to 3 days per week. And then you go back down to the lower intake. This is not a video about carb cycling. I just wanted to talk about that briefly because that's a whole other topic. Another strategy that you can employ is a diet break. There's lots of research on this. Finally, there didn't used to be. And that also can protect your hormones and your metabolism in the dieting process. If you've ever wondered why it's so hard to lose weight now and way harder than it used to be in the past, that's usually the issue. If you with this, just shoot me a message, shoot me an email, a DM on Instagram. I am happy to help you here. This is a very, very, very difficult thing, but it's also very common. I know exactly what to do. You're not alone. We can get through this. If you want to chat, we'll see if you qualify, and we'll go from there. See you in the next video.